We just got hit with an absolute bombshell piece of news, Bears fans. Drew Dalman has retired at the age of 27, and now the Chicago Bears are in desperate need of a starting center. My name is Harrison Graham. You're watching Chicago Bears Now. This is why you subscribe. Good news, bad news. We're hitting you guys with the coverage. I'm home with my sick 2-year-old, and I found a little time here to bring you guys a quick reaction. And this is a devastating loss. I don't think there's any way around it. Now, I'm not acting like the season's over next year or anything like that, but you feel like you finally stabilized a position that hadn't been stabilized really since Olin Kreutz in the late 2000s, early 2010s, whatever that stretch was. And 1 year into a 3-year, $42 million contract, Dalman walks away. And now let me just say this. I see people on Twitter, and it's not a lot of people, it's a small portion of people saying, they're yelling at Drew Dalman, WTF, bro, this and that. It's like, listen, football is a violent game. I don't blame any of these guys for walking away. Like, Drew Dalman is a center. He takes contact to the head on every single play. I am not blaming Drew Dalman if he thinks it's best for him and his family to walk away. But from a Bears perspective, this sucks. There's no way around it. There's absolutely, positively no way around this other than it just freaking stinks. Because, again, you finally stabilize that position. And Drew Dalman's not a perfect player, but what he does before the snap, helping out Caleb Williams with the identifications and making sure everybody's set, making some of the calls. And, I think that's going to have to be a big step forward for Caleb this year, which he definitely made progress last year with his command at the line of scrimmage. But he's got to take that next step now, because chances are whoever they bring in to replace Drew Dalman, and there's a couple names already being floated out there, it probably won't be someone as cerebral as Drew. That's really the strength of his game. He's average in pass protection, good run blocker, but where he really helped out was, between the ears. His intelligence as a center is really, really smart. And we know this is a position that Ben Johnson extremely values. He had Frank Ragnow in Detroit, and then what did the Bears do last year? They signed Drew Dalman. And look, they still have Joe Thuney at left guard. They still have Jonah Jackson at right guard. But now you have a question mark at left tackle with Ozzie Trapillo likely out for the season, or at least most of it, and at center as well. So this just adds a wrinkle into your whole offseason plans. Like, Bears Twitter's been all over the place today. The betting odds shifting toward getting Max Crosby. How does this impact that? I talked to my guy Tom Downey, and I'll try to get this confirmed by the next episode we do, whenever that is, tonight, tomorrow, etc. He said with Dalman retiring, it'll save the Bears about $10 million in cap space. So that is a silver lining. Maybe you get a center for less than $10 million, so you do save a little money here. But no one wanted Drew Dalman to retire, from a team football perspective. So definitely a bummer on that front. What is your one-word reaction to Drew Dalman retiring 1 year into his Bears tenure? Let me know down in the comment section below. Now, this would certainly be interesting and actually potentially an upgrade on paper. Albert Breer, after this news came out, said, now it makes sense why the Bears have been sniffing around Tyler Linderbaum, which I guess is something he had heard at the NFL Combine. I have a lot of thoughts on the idea of Tyler Linderbaum. He's obviously a very good player, a smaller center, but smart, really good in the run. Again, kind of average in pass protection, but there's all kinds of rumors circulating on what it's going to cost to sign a guy like Tyler Linderbaum. So I'm going to give my thoughts on that, plus another name that I actually think is more realistic that is already being reported that the Bears could sign to replace Drew Dalman. So we'll dive into all that here in just a moment. But do got to tell you about our awesome sponsor, PrizePicks. Shoot your shot with PrizePicks today and get $50 instantly in lineups once you play your first $5. That's right. When you sign up and play your first $5, you're going to get $50 in lineups with PrizePicks today. No matter if you win or lose that $5 lineup, PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, every board that much more exciting. So don't miss the chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. That is PrizePicks. Football might be over, but Other sports rolling along. March doesn't get bigger when it comes to basketball. We're talking points, rebounds, assists, fantasy score. Take more or less on 2 to 6 player lineups regardless of sport, including season-long football stat projections that are available. If you hit, you win money. It's as simple as that. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups once you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups once you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it is good to be right. All right, let's talk a little bit more about Tyler Linderbaum here, as Albert Breer, like I said, mentioned that the Bears have sniffed around on him. Look, Tyler Linderbaum's a good player. He's very athletic. He's good in the run game. He's smart. I get all that. The reports are that he wants $25 million per year. And there's other reports saying he'll get at least 20. I'm not in that business if I'm the Chicago Bears. You're about to pay Darnell Wright on an extension. That's probably going to be clear, at least $25 million per year. Jonah Jackson makes 17. Joe Thuney makes 17. And you need help all along your defense. Drew Dalman at 14 was one thing. And even if you think Tyler Linderbaum's better, he ain't $8 million better. I just would not go down that path. Now, if he wants to take less and come play for the Bears at a similar price tag Drew Dalman was willing to, more power to him. But it sounds like the Ravens have already offered him a deal around $20 million per year. I would not go down that route. If you sign Tyler Linderbaum, that's kind of your offseason. You're not going to have a lot of flexibility to do much else. You certainly wouldn't be able to trade for Max Crosby, but that aside, and I've gone back and forth on the Max idea, I just don't think you can afford to do that if you are the Chicago Bears. I'm not saying don't check what his price tag is when free agency opens, but I just would not go in that direction. I think this is more of a move I can get on board with. Ian Rappaport says the Bears are hosting, excuse the typo there, Tyler Biadasz on a free agent visit, who was cut, by the way, by the Washington Commanders. So he can sign with a team immediately. Oh, and by the way, he doesn't count against the salary cap or the formula, the free agency formula. I'm trying to fix this typo for you guys, but I don't think it's going to happen. So apologies on that one, producing this solo. But the point being is you could sign Tyler Biadasz like a 1 or 2 year deal, won't count against you in the comp pick formula game. So if you come out ahead of that, you could get picks next year, depending on what happens with some of your own free agents if they sign elsewhere, whether that be Nashawn Wright, Jaquan Brisker, maybe Kevin Byard. We'll see if he's back or not. But I think Tyler Biadasz is a solid player. He was a top 12-ish center per PFF this past year. He was solid in Dallas. I was shocked when Washington cut him. He's just well-rounded. He's probably a tick better than Dalman in pass protection. He's probably not as good in the run game. I can't speak to his the cerebral part of his game. I would guess it's not as good as Dalman's, but if you can get him for, I don't know, $7-8 million per year on a 1 or 2 year deal, solid starting top half of the league center, I think that's the type of hunting I would be doing rather than going all in on Tyler Linderbaum. Again, good player, certainly better than Tyler Biadasz, but I think Tyler Biadasz, for what his price tag is probably going to be, makes a lot more sense for the Bears if they're trying to go accomplish other things in free agency than a guy like Tyler Linderbaum does. So we'll see what ends up happening. Certainly shocking news today as Drew Dalman has retired. I certainly wish him well. I got no ill will against Dalman. Again, these people on Twitter, like, just take a breath, take a step back. These are people's lives. He doesn't owe anyone anything. He's going to forfeit his salary. I think he still gets a little bit of his bonus, but like, this happens sometimes. Guys walk away. I don't think when Drew Dalman signed last year, he was like, well, I'm just going to quit after a year. I think like every player at the end of the season, he sat down with his family, took some time and decided, hey, I'm going out with a bang. Awesome year, made a Pro Bowl. I'm done. I don't want to have brain damage when I'm 50. So don't blame him on that. I wish he was still playing. Selfishly, I wish he was, but That's not the case here. And look, you got to trust Ben Johnson. You got to trust Ryan Poles here. And for them to act accordingly, I would guess they've at least known this could happen for a few days. I highly doubt it was out of nowhere. So I assume they're going to have a plan. Clearly some level of a plan if Tyler Biadasz is already visiting or set to visit. If you told me you could get him single digits millions per year before free agency, I would just lock that in. Again, Dalman retiring saves you $10 million against the cap. If you can get Biadasz for less than that, you actually come out ahead from a salary cap perspective, and it allows you to spend elsewhere. So we'll see what they do. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. I might try to go live later and talk more about this, plus the Max Crosby stuff. Really depends how my son's feeling when my wife gets home, all that stuff. So we'll see. But bear down, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.